The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
And we're back for one more show of the Table Topics. This will be our second show for the month of December and the last show for the year of 2018.
Wow, excellent.
Goes fast.
Yeah, years go by, and you know what we were laughing beforehand, but I've been freezing all day today. Now you're making me look bad with the short sleeve shirt. I'm freezing.
Beautiful, beautiful weather. I think you need to check your doctor.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with you. So we're going to talk about today a few things, and we're going to go out of the country. I believe we talked about this issue before in other shows, but can you bring us up to date? Because we do have a couple of videos that we want to show, but for the people that are listening to us for the first time and then heard us talk about this a couple of months ago, can you bring us up to date?
I can give a real quick update. What happened over the last few months is that a committee set up by Parliament went all around the country, and what they went around the country was to get people's opinions as to whether they should expropriate land and not compensate the people that own the land. And
let's talk. Let's say which country though.
This was South Africa. Sorry, in South Africa. So
this is not happening in here.
No, it's not in this
yet.
country. No, it's not in this country. But yeah, it's out in South Africa. They started that whole system. So what basically happened over the last few days was that they sent the report into Parliament. But prior to that, their Prime Minister, Ramaphosa, had said, you know what, no matter what the report says, we're going to move forward with this. But, you know, that kind of, maybe that tainted it, I don't know, but they had a vote for Parliament. Parliament accepted the report. Now what they're going to be doing is figuring out how they're going to start this process, what they're going to do, what land they're going to take. And, you know, all these notifications, obviously.
So this is people that have big size lands, right?
Yeah,
and they want to take part of them away.
They want to take part of that land away. Right now it's farmland, but there has been a lot of talk that it could be urban land. I was watching a video a few weeks back where folks had come in and said, we're taking this whole town. It's a seaside town. I think it's called Hermanus. It's a big whaling town. And so, you know, who knows what's going to happen. But, I mean, obviously, if you say I'm going to take farmland, what's next? It could be I want the urban properties, I want the suburban properties, and we'll redistribute them. So,
and is this a group that wants to take this land?
Well, there's many different groups in Parliament there. The main group that I guess garners 60% of the population is the African National Congress. They've been pushing back on this, but now there's an election in 2019, and there's another group. It's a minority group, but it's starting to get some power, called the Economic Freedom Fighters. They're somewhat radical. They, during their rallies, will talk about one settler, one bullet, which basically means anybody that's come off the continent. They call them the settlers, the English, the Dutch, the Germans, the Portuguese, anybody that came after 1650. So you get that kind of rhetoric. And there's been talk, like every time they have one of these things, one of these rallies where they talk about killing people, there are farm murders. So it's very complicated, but that's what's happening right now, that, you know, the Parliament has voted on this, and now we're going to move forward and take this land away from people. Now, you know, some people have had this land for generations. It's like this country, right? We had, actually, that country was settled probably a little bit early, a little bit later than us. 1652 is when the first Dutch settlers went to the Cape Town. to have an outpost there for people going to the West Indies and Indies to get spices. And then from there, it was like America. People left the Netherlands, Holland, they left Germany, they left French, and they settled in that area for a religious and for a better life. And then all these other, groups came in. The Portuguese were a big contributor to the population there as well. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least.
So the last time that we talked about, they were applying for a regulation or a rule that they could take this land away, and people were fighting on the streets about this. That's the clips we showed. And it's, there's not widespread, civil unrest yet, but there is a lot of crime there. There are public transport, they call it, between like Cape Town and the suburbs. They're constantly being set on fire. The subway cars, buses are being set on fire. It is somewhat chaotic. The electric now, it's called ESCO, I guess, is their electric company, the state electric company. Now they have like these power save things. So the power goes out for like 5 or 6 hours and it comes back on. Now this was a first world country at one time where they didn't have rolling blackouts. Now that's what's happened. So it's kind of fallen into disarray. And I think, the unemployment rate is 25% there. So I think some of these minority groups think by taking the land away from, these few rich people, that's going to solve their problems. It hasn't in the past. They have gone in and taken property where people had a legitimate claim saying, look, 100 years ago, this land was taken from my parents, and they have, documents to show that. And that's fine, but what's happened is when they have tried to resettle and buy farmers' land, the government will buy it and then put people on that farm. The farms just don't make it. People just leave. Whatever's there is destroyed, and they just take off because they don't have the background to farm. Farm is just not like throwing seeds, especially on these large-scale farms, So it's going to be interesting. So what we're going to see is the parliament.
Yeah, the first video is going to be Parliament. This here in America, right? We talk about how our Congress and the Senate are so bad, which they don't behave very well sometimes. But in this segment here, this is a segment between the economic freedom fighters. They're a party in Parliament, and the DA, which is the Democratic Alliance. And this starts out, and the end, it goes into an all-out punch fest, basically. And what they do is they call the sergeant at arms, and people just don't listen. So it's about a minute or two. It's very interesting to see. You appreciate America after you see what kind of chaos it turns into.
Let's watch.
Madam Speaker, Madam House Chair, I'm very glad that the President is very concerned about my health.
Is it a point of order?
Yes, it is a point of order. You cannot cast
Point of order, Comrade Togo. Why is he rising? On which rule? On which rule? Can you have consistency, Honorable Chair?
To quote
Don't be intimidated by anyone. Don't be intimidated by anyone.
Honorable Josie, I'm glad you have taken your seat, because indeed you raised the point of order. I said I'll come back to you, but you then also did what is wrong. Continue to express yourself. Honorable Cesar stood up on a point of order. I'm still listening to him. Can you please take your seat? Honorable Josie, I asked, wait, 8. Honorable Senator, what's your point of order?
Well, to quote the Honourable Ndlozi from earlier, some rule. That's what he got away with earlier.
Okay,
nonetheless, to say that it is, the President, I thank him for his concern about my auditory abilities and the like. However, I don't think that it's appropriate.
Honourable Chair, please.
Can the VBS Bank looters please give me a chance?
No, you are not going to call me a VBS looter, you're racist young white man. A racist young man who was accused of rape, of bonking,
honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members of the DA and the EFF. Honorable members. Honorable members. Honorable members.
House Chairperson.
Honorable members.
House Chairperson.
Honorable Shibambo, I've listened to you. Can you please ask your members? Order. Can the sergeant in arms come in? Order, honorable members.
On a point of order.
Order. Sergeant at arms, can you please come
On a point
in?
of order.
It looks like that guy spit at her, didn't it? Yeah.
Order, honorable members. Sergeant at arms, can you please act? Honorable Kadi, Honorable Shibambo, can you please ask the members to take their seats? Yes, can you please first ask them to take their seats? Honorable Stenhazen, as a chief whip, can you please also ask your members to take their seats? Can you please ask your members to take their seats? Honorable Shibambo. Honorable Shibambo. Honorable Shibambo, can you please ask your members too to take their seats? Honorable member, can you take your seat? Can I address you?
Wow.
So you think Congress and the Senate are dysfunctional in this country, eh?
Wow.
So as you saw, I kind of, the EFF group, the Economic Freedom Fighters, and I've watched this once or twice already, but the head of that, his name is Julius Malema, he actually spat in that woman's face. Mm-hmm. And then they were pushing her as well. What they were ranting that probably people couldn't hear through the screaming was the EFF members were calling the DA members, who are majority white, racist. Mm-hmm. Racist. That's happened, you know, this country we have that. Identity politics is really taken root there. And if you read through Times, what's really scary when you see things like this is that when you read the newspapers or you hear these folks during rallies, they blame everything on the white farmers or the settlers, as they call them. And they're like the minority of 10% in that country. And we all know when we look through past on different things, in Rwanda we had the Tutsis, and I can't remember the other group, but they actually, the Tutsis were the minority there, and they called them cockroaches, similar to things that are going on right now in South Africa. They call them all these names. One person in that group was on television the other day saying, if anybody comes and touches us, we're going to kill 5 of them. Their women, their children, their dogs, their cats, we're going to just come kill them. So when you have that kind of rhetoric and you're telling people that, I mean, people complain about Trump in this country, right? Mm-hmm. About saying that. These people are actually saying, we're going to shoot, kill, we're going to go after them. This is a revolution. And all you have to do is see how things deteriorate. Mm-hmm. So you throw that on top of the expiration of, taking away people's land.
And you know, when the chamber kind of looks like a city council chamber, like the same kind of wood and everything.
Yeah.
When you're watching that, at least, we don't scream because of that. We scream because one city council, it's bold. Yeah. One city council uses socks, so we talk about his socks. We talk about a city council hair. We're talking about, I'm glad, after seeing this, I'm so happy that we're talking about our city councils. We talk about it's the hair, the socks,
Well,
you know?
part of the beginning that folks missed out on is the gentleman Stan Hazen from the DA. He was talking. Who was at the podium was the Prime Minister Ramaphosa. He was telling that man, or in his speech to Parliament, how he's slow or he's retarded, this, that, or the other thing. So that's when he goes after the Prime Minister, and it just deteriorates. But it just goes to show, can you imagine in this country, whether it be President Obama or Bush, imagine, or Trump, going to the Senate in front of them saying, you people are all slow, you don't know what the heck you're talking about, on and on and on. I mean, we have these in tweets, but they're right in front of each other, and this isn't the first time. There have been times where they've actually pulled 15 to 20 people out that were fist fighting there.
Well, if we go back in our history on this country, we were there before. Now we came to respect, not 100%, but we came to respect color, and we came a long way.
Yeah.
And those countries, they always had that problem, and getting worse instead of getting better. It's getting worse.
Yeah.
In here, it's getting much better. People are starting to kind of respecting, other colors, other religions, So, but again, this is a country of rules.
Yeah.
This is a country of rules. Over there, we can see there's no rule.
Yeah. Well, there are roughly 20,000 people that are murdered every day in that country. So there's a lot of crime, a lot of violence. A lot of people, if they can, are getting out of there. Some people can't afford it, like here in Fall River. You'd have a lot of people that can't leave. Where are they going to go? What country are you going to go to? You need to have money to leave your country. And a lot of people are like, this is where I'm from, where do I go? It's like us here in America, right? Most people that have been here for generations on top of generations, where do you go? It's a totally new kind of thing.
And we do have one
we have one more video, so why don't we play that?
Let's see the other video.
Yeah. And this is regarding that.
Assembly has passed a report of the Joint Constitutional Review Committee recommending the amendment of Section 25 of the Constitution.
This paves the way to legislate land expropriation without compensation. Some opposition parties didn't support the adoption of the report. The DA has indicated it will be challenging the adoption of the report in court.
It was high anticipation as the House debated the proposed amendment of the Constitution. The motion was first tabled in February by the EFF. A public participation process ensued until the committee report was adopted 2 weeks ago.
We call on AfriForum and all those parties who support AfriForum, those who are taking the people to court, to reconsider their stance. We urge you as this House to adopt this report. We urge you to make it possible for President Cyril Ramaphosa, the Tumamina volunteer-in-chief, to make right what is wrong.
The debate pitted two groups, those who are in favor and those who are against the proposed amendment.
The Democratic Alliance stands opposed to any abrogation of existing property rights. These are the bedrock of development and economic growth. Wholesale expropriation without compensation is nothing other than state-sanctioned theft, and the Democratic Alliance will not support it.
The intention has never been to run a referendum, because if we had conducted a referendum, you can be guaranteed that 90% of South Africans would have voted for expropriation of land without compensation.
People of South Africa, Honorable Chairperson, must know who is rushing this report and what is in their interest. The answers to this can be found in state capture and VPS looting. The IFP rejects this report.
The new much radical but progressive strategy must be adopted, and in our view, that strategy is expropriation of land without compensation.
The UDM makes a call to all citizens of South Africa to get together and craft the terms
on which the Constitution must be amended. It has to.
The first speech today by the Honourable Chairperson just indicates to you how wishy-washy this whole process was.
Thank you very much. Your
this
time
report
is
is
now
not
passed.
worth the paper it is written on, and it should be rejected.
Honourable Member, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The injustices and divisions of our past must be healed, and this includes land reform. We support expropriation of land with compensation.
Any amendment to Section 25 has the potential to threaten food security, agricultural reform, and discourage investment.
The Section 25 amendment is the popular view of the people, as we have seen the consultation on the view. How can we therefore be against the views or the majority?
All land must be nationalized and socialized for the use and benefit of all, especially the working class and African women.
We are saying as the ANC that those that oppose the access of land to our people must be remembered when we go to the elections in 2019, because it is those people that will keep us back from creating a united, a prosperous, and a democratic South Africa.
Following the debate, the DA called for a vote. After the vote count, the proposal for a constitutional amendment was passed with 209 votes in favor and 91 votes against. Meanwhile, the National Council of Provinces will also debate the adoption of the report on Wednesday. The ANC will table a motion in the National Assembly on Thursday that will take the process of the constitutional amendment forward. Ulelani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
So with that passing, and you've been following this for a while. So what do you think that's going to be the next step after this passing?
The next step is they're going to figure out what they're going to do, how they're going to expropriate the land, what farms they're going to take, what procedures, who will get the land. There was one gentleman, I don't know if it was the last one, that said the government has to take over the land and distribute it to people. That's kind of like socialism, isn't it, or communism? But really, the people are never going to own the land.
How are they going to figure out who's going to get it?
That's going to be interesting to see. You know what I mean? Because what's happened, but they're not really talking about this.
I hope it's not nobody like with airplanes and everything getting more land. You know.
No, well, the thing is, Carlos, some of these people are foreign investors, so foreign investment's kind of gone downhill. Because who wants to go and buy anything there if you think the government's going to take it away from you?
Yeah.
So there have been some issues with that. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, for sure, it's going to be interesting to see. I know that there was a group from South Africa that went to the European Union to talk about what's happening. The European Union's a little concerned because they said if things go crazy there, then they're going to get all these migrants or refugees, right, trying to leave there, go through Africa. Where are they going to go? They're going to try to go to Europe. The only place that's rich. You're not going to stay in a country that's in a civil war or in bad shape. So they're concerned about it. But yeah, I think the rhyme or reason is that people will get it. You know what I mean? They're just going to distribute it to people. But what I was getting at prior, they've built since the 1994 election with Nelson Mandela. I think they've built like 2 or 3 million houses for people, just houses, and they gave them to them. Here's your house, here's your property, that's fine. What they don't explain is that they have a big problem with illegal immigration there too. So when they had the civil war in Zimbabwe, when they kicked out all the farmers there, the country went into hyperinflation and craziness, so people weren't eating there, so what did? They walked over the border into South Africa. So they have got a lot of migrants from these other countries that had civil wars, the Congo. Where do they go there? So it's added on to their population. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. People that came from Zimbabwe, the other country, are they going to be allowed to get land too? You know what I mean? So it's going to be it's going to be an issue because I just don't see people giving away their property for nothing.
One of the things that that's amazing, it's that rule actually passed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was nothing that we will think, at least that I think in this country, that will pass something like that, you know. But
Never know. You never know. I don't think people would have thought that back in 1994 when Nelson Mandela was in, that they just take the land over and piecemeal it to people. And who, like you said, who's doing that? The government. The government there has been so much corruption there. They have their South African Airways. There has been so much corruption and looting of that property from the government. It's unreal. You know, they have people. They put all these money into schools. I'll give you an example, in the townships. And in the schools itself, these kids are still peeing in outhouses. It's so bad that children are falling in the outhouses, and people are all in an uproar. The ANC is the ruling party. They've had power all this time, like say the Republicans have had power the last couple of years. Now, they gave money to these municipalities or townships, and the money's nowhere to be found. The toilets don't get fixed. They go into the politicians' pockets, and it's done with. So,
well, I'm pretty sure this is not the end of it.
Oh, no.
And I know you will keep the eye on. Is that something that that you like to keep the eye on? And in a couple of months, we probably could get another update with what's going on in there. With the last couple of minutes left from our last show of the year, I want to start by thanking, you know, BCC and the crew behind the cameras, because without them we could not definitely have this show. Sure. From Lucy to Denise to Michelle to Steve, we want to thank them for us to be able to have this show. Everybody knows that they're under a new contract, so I hope that we're not going to lose a channel like this one to provide, you know, some regular guy like me, the chance to get into people's house with the show and entertain them somehow. And finally, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a healthy, safe New Year, and after the show that we presented today, definitely we are definitely in a safe country.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You too.
Same. You know, the years, as you get older, the years seem to go by quickly. It's 2019 in a few weeks. So, yeah, I look at things in the world, things that are going on everywhere now. It's not just us. We were talking about France, the issues they were having there. Life's short. So enjoy everything you can, and you know what, try to be nice to people. It's a lot easier to yell and get mad at people, especially here up in New England. You know, we can be really hard and not be friendly toward people. Let's try to do a little bit more.
This is the time. If you have to make that phone call a year, one phone call a year, this is the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I see you guys. We promise to be back next year with more table topics. Until then, have a Merry Christmas.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.